everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evie. Thank you for watching. Today for this video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 favorite reads of this year. I ended up reading 40 books this year total, which isn't that much, but considering the beginning of the year where once the pandemic hit, I just stopped reading. I don't know what I did for like 2 months. It's all a blur, but I have my top 5 favorite books. I do have them spread out, I feel like pretty well over the year. So I do have some that's from earlier this year, but I feel like the majority of my reading this year was later on, the second half of 2020, when I kind of accepted everything that was going on. But I am going to be going in chronological order of when I read them, not based off of when they were released. Let's just get into it. So my very first book that I'm going to be talking about that I read this year actually happens to also be my favorite book that I read this year, and that is Rhett Butler's People by Donald McCaig. I always want to say Craig, and I know that's not right, but by Donald McCaig, and it is so good. This is my favorite book that I read this year, full stop. It is authorized by Margaret Mitchell's estate, and basically it follows the telling of Gone with the Wind, but from Rhett Butler's point of view. And I would say it's kind of more inclusive in that it starts from Rhett as like a young boy, or like a younger boy, not like a tiny child, but still it starts from Rhett Butler in his adolescence and the things that affected him and made him the man that he became. And it goes onwards through Gone with the Wind's plotline into what happens after the end of Gone with the Wind. And I think for a modern audience, it had maybe potentially, at least for me, a more satisfying ending than Gone with the Wind. I love Gone with the Wind, don't get me wrong. I love it. I love it. I love it. I was a little frustrated with the ending, and I felt like it was a little left undone, and I felt like Rhett Butler's People really satisfied what I was missing from the end of Gone with the Wind. That being said, there are so many trigger warnings in this. It is very intense at times. I feel like with Gone with the Wind, it really portrayed the South and the Civil War and slavery all through the lens of a sheltered Southern belle who is Scarlett O'Hara. And not that that's bad, but I feel like Rhett Butler's People, since it's through Rhett's point of view, he is not sheltered. He knows what's going on, and it can be very intense. So I did have to put it down a couple of times, but I always came back because it is just such a good book. It is very well written. It feels just like Gone with the Wind. It's just a different tone, and it's so interesting, and the ending is very satisfying. So I would definitely, if you liked Gone with the Wind, if you read the book, if you've seen the movie, I would pick this up. Also, I like this because it kind of flushes out the characters who were written off by Scarlett O'Hara's point of view as being a certain dimension, or I don't want to say one-dimensional, but because I feel like it fit for Scarlett O'Hara's point of view in Gone with the Wind. But I do think that this really builds upon Gone with the Wind in such a beautiful way. So I would highly recommend this. Since I have beaten this to death, let me move on to my next book. The next one I read is a science nonfiction book. I absolutely adored it. I actually picked this up when I was in high school, and I think I was supposed to read it for biology. Like, I got to pick, and I picked this, and I don't know if I finished it or not, but I've just been so fascinated by, I remember what I read, and I was so fascinated by it, so I picked it up again, and I finished it now, but I reread The Demon in the Freezer by Richard Preston. This is a really good book. It follows a lot of different stories, but it's mostly focusing on the eradication efforts for smallpox, as well as some scares with anthrax. It's hard to explain it all because it just covers so much time, but it was so fascinating for a nonfiction book with so much specific detail. It really felt like I was reading a story. Like, it was so good. I was just enthralled. Like, what's gonna happen next? Even though it was history. it's history now, but it was just so fascinating. I think he did a really great job. All of the details in here are trustworthy. I mean, he interviewed the people that he talked to. He has like descriptions of them. They feel like characters, even though they're full human beings. So I would definitely pick this up if that's something that you're interested in. If you like nonfiction, or if you're trying to get into nonfiction, this might be a good one to start off with. if you're interested in the topic. It might not be, but if you like it, just let me know. And that's true for all of these books. If you like them, if you don't like them, if you've read them, if you're looking forward to reading them, just let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. My next book that I read in the year, and this is actually the book that I originally gave 4 stars, but I think I'm gonna have to go back and change that, is gonna be Liane Moriarty's 9 Perfect Strangers. I think I'm saying her name right. 9 Perfect Strangers, the plot here, it follows 9 people who go to this exclusive, expensive health retreat resort, and they're all coming for different things. They all have different backgrounds. They're all completely different. And what happens is crazy. So like, this book is crazy. I remember when I was reading it about halfway through or something, I was like, is this supposed to be like fantasy, or is this like what is happening? Like, I didn't know the direction it was gonna go, and I don't think that's necessarily for everybody, but I loved this book. I think I really enjoyed the story. I think the story was well written. I thought everything was depicted with originality, of course, but also in a way that made sense. Like, I wasn't like, oh, that doesn't, I mean, yeah, there's parts that are very strange, but it all seemed to make sense the way people acted according to their past and what was going on. So it was very well written. I really enjoyed it. I was sucked into it. And then what makes me want to change it from a 4 to a 5 is I cannot stop thinking about this book. I literally keep thinking about the characters, wondering what's going on. I just saw, I think today or yesterday, I just saw online that they are making a Hulu short, that they are making a Hulu adaptation of this. I think it's produced and starring Nicole Kidman, I believe. And I just like am so excited. I cannot believe it. So this is gonna be another one of my 5s that I don't give out very much, but it's just, I cannot stop thinking about it. And I think that's a mark of a really good book. I don't think everybody's gonna like it, but I definitely did. So let me know if you've read it. Next on my favorites list is actually a book that is pretty popular. So I know a lot of people have read it this year, and I don't know, when did it come out? Yeah, it came out this year. I think it came out at the beginning of this year, which is unfortunate, but everybody's been talking about it. Everybody's been excited about it. And I'm jumping on the bandwagon because I was immediately sucked in. I didn't know what to expect. I was afraid I might not like it, but I really did. And that book is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, the author of the Hunger Games trilogy. So, oh my goodness, as soon as I picked this up, like within the first few chapters, like I was obsessed. Like, I got the audiobook, I got the ebook, and I was constantly reading this whenever I could. So this book is a prequel for the Hunger Games. It follows President Snow as a young man, adolescent. I think he's in high school or whatever their version of that is. And also, not only is President Snow young, but it's also the beginnings, the first few years of the Hunger Games. So the Hunger Games have not been around for very long, so it's still kind of developing into what it's going to be. And I think both aspects of this story are so fascinating. So if you like the Hunger Games, I would definitely give this a shot. And even if you didn't like the Hunger Games, this might be a good option for you. It doesn't really give out hardly any, I can't think of any spoilers or anything that it would be giving out, especially because this takes place before the Hunger Games. So, I mean, definitely give it a shot if you're kind of curious about the Hunger Games universe. It's not the same feeling or the same vibe, but definitely very cool. Would recommend. And I feel like if you give it a shot, you would know pretty quickly if you really like it or not. So I would try it out. Last, but certainly not least, is the very last book that I read this year. I just finished it a few days ago. Might be biased because of that, but I don't think so. As soon as I picked up this book and started reading it, I knew that this was something I was going to be obsessed with. And that book is American Royals by Katharine McGee. And this book follows the Washington family in an alternate universe, or alternate history timeline rather, where Washington did accept the monarchy. We call the modern day Washingtons in their lives. A couple things I was surprised about. There's 4 points of view for this story that it switches between. I never felt that I was not interested in one of the points of view, which I think is really good, but I was surprised that all of them are kind of focused on a romantic storyline. Even if it's not the main plot, it is a main plot for each character. I wasn't expecting that because I feel like when I first started reading it, the reason I was obsessed was the concept and the implication of that. And so I lived for the little mentions of how history was different because of Washington accepting the monarchy. However, the stories are actually well written. I was interested, I am intrigued, and I cannot wait to read Majesty, which is the sequel that came out this year. I am really behind on this. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time. I think I was a little bit afraid that I would be disappointed because I'm just so fascinated by this concept. I love the idea of this alternate history. But if you, I think the reason I first picked it up though, or the reason I was first interested is like the cover reminds me of Crazy Rich Asians, and it's not the same cover artist at all, which surprised me, but they do kind of have similar vibes and like the extravagance and the family. I don't want to say family drama as much, but there's drama. There's definitely drama. But I feel like the relationship I actually cared about the most in here was the sister-sister relationship that was going on. I feel like I was the most invested in that. But all the storylines I was interested in, like whenever it would switch to a different storyline, I still cared. And also another interesting part about this book specifically was that, again, even the character that you're not really supposed to like that much, she's like a fully fleshed out character. She's not like an antagonist where she's like just out to get, like, it literally is, she's on the back it calls her the schemer. Her name's Daphne Dayton, and she's fleshed out. She does have feelings and she cares about things, and it explains why and all that. So I really appreciated that. And then as I was reading it, I was actually thinking that she reminded me so much of Scarlett O'Hara, and another character reminded me of Rhett Butler in here too. And it's like, that is, I don't know if it's on purpose or not, and I wish I knew, but now that I've thought about it, I can't unthink it. So if you've read this book, let me know if you thought that too. I feel like I might be influenced by the fact that I read Rhett Butler's People and loved it so much this year, but I'm just getting those vibes. So let me know what you think. That is my last favorite of the year. That is all of them. I had a lot of books that I enjoyed, but those are absolutely my top favorites, and they're the ones that I fell in love with, that I had to devour right away, that I was super fascinated with and couldn't stop thinking about after I read them. So I think that's the mark of a really great book. So I'm gonna have to go back and give 9 Perfect Strangers a 5 because I was not anticipating when I finished it. I was like still kind of processing what had happened, but now that I'm months out from reading it, I know that I do still love it. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and change that rating to a 5. These 5 books are my top books that I read this year. Let me know again in the comments if you've read any of them. Also, let me know what your top books you read this year are. So looking forward to hearing that, and I can't wait to go into 2021. I only have a couple days left when I'm filming this, so I'm trying to hold off until I can just dive right in, and I can't wait for another year. I hope that I have just as a successful reading year as I did this one, hopefully even more successful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great end of year 2020. I hope that you finish so much stronger than it's been going, and I hope you have a great 2021. See you next year.